Hi there, thanks for stopping by. This is a quick little process. It's just a line illustration of a heart. It's quite an organic process. It's just something that I do. It's like a style that I apply to certain images sometimes. And then take you through the process of quickly cleaning it up and then deriving a graphic from it afterwards. It's quite simple. Here it is. So first of all, I'm going to change the image to a grayscale and burn away as much dirt as possible using brightness and contrast. Then I convert back to RGB and use channel mixer in the monochrome mode to clean it up a bit more. And then I use a tiny bit more brightness and contrast just to bring it up. And then I make a selection of the image and fill it in black on a new layer to make an image on a transparent background. And from there I basically create a layer effect, a stroke outline, and that shows up all the bits of dirt that I've missed, and then I can get into the image and clean it up a lot more, which is what I'm doing here. So this cleans the image up, and what we end up with is two layers. We've got the background layer, which is just filled with white, and we've got this floating transparency layer that the image is on now, the black line image, which is where we want to be to take the image forward. We can do anything we want with it now. So the next thing I do really is just run it through Illustrator, the image trace function in there, just to convert it to a vector-based image and clean the line up that much more. Now this really cleans the line up beautifully, so I'm ready to work with the image. Okay, so this is the image that we're going to start with. This is the image we've cleaned up. And what I want to do first is come in and name my layer line. As you can see, it's like an image on a transparent layer, and I've got a second layer that's the background white. So I'm trying to move this heart down into this bottom corner very slightly, and what I want to do is create a bit of a landscape. The idea is to create this landscape out of these two images. About there will do. Okay, and I want to create a second heart image. So whilst I'm on that layer, if you go to your move tool and actually hit Alt and move at the same time, it duplicates the layer for you, and then you can take your finger off Alt and you can move it around as normal with the move tool. That's fine. I want to create a channel through there. Can you see? Just a little bit of a channel, and create like a, I suppose I'm after the image either side through that channel, the image, the negative space that channel creates. I want it to balance either side. So that space there and that space there need sort of balance in weight in terms of how they appear. Quite happy with that. I want to merge the layers because I don't need them to be two separate images. And then I'm going to get to my Magic Wand tool, select that negative space, and I want to inverse it because I want it to snap to the heart images, because I want to put a background fill on there. So that's inversed it. As you can see, the marching ants have changed. And I'm just going to modify, contract that selection by 1 pixel. Now the reason that I do this is if I'm going to fill the background behind those hearts, I don't like there to be any sort of fringe of the background coming through. If you just reduce it by a pixel, that's never going to happen, so that's good. There's method in my madness. Okay, now I've got that selection as I want it. I'll create a new layer, call it fill. I've got a pre-selected grey that I want to use. There it is. Put that on the palette. Okay, select the layer I want to fill and go to fill and make sure the foreground's checked. It is. Okay, and that's just put that shade in there. That's fab. So now there's a couple of images in these. Zoom into this heart. There's a couple of things that stand out in these hearts. There's this little, like a fish face there, and this arrow. So I just want to pick something out. I don't know why, but I just want to pick one of these shapes out. Like I say, some of what I do is organic. It feels right. So what I'm going to do is, while being on the line layer, my magic wand tool, and just select. You made that selection there. You can see. And now there's a bit at the bottom that I don't want. So I'm just going to go to my polygon lasso tool. And if you hit Alt, it brings a little minus sign up on your cursor, which means you can actually subtract part of that by clicking, pulling the line across. And if you double click, and it just takes that away. You can see I've just got the arrow selected now. So go to the fill layer, hit delete, and there you go. It's just taking that part out. Okay, the next thing I want to do now is I just want to get some colour in here. So I'm going to create two layers. Call this one Grad Red. And this one Grad Cyan. And it's just a way of introducing a bit of colour. I mean, you could fill colour in and paint colour in, but sometimes I just like this subtlety of colour, and gradients allow you to do this. So I've got a pre-existing colour check there, bring it to my palette. I'm on the right layer. And now if I go to the gradient tool, I just want to make sure that it's like the strong colour to a transparency checked, not colour to colour. So it's just going to put that one colour in, and I'm going to click at the top left of the image and take it 2/3 of the way across, diagonally down. And that's filled that colour in. That's fab. Bit strong, just going to take it back a bit. So I'm going to change the opacity on the layer just to knock it back slightly. Change it to 55. Quite happy with that. Good. Go to the cyan one this time. Go and collect the pre-selected colour that I chose earlier and put that on the palette. Same thing, this time from the bottom of the canvas, bottom right hand side of the canvas, you're just going to drag that line across the canvas about 2/3 of the way up, from bottom right to top left, and that's fine. That's fab. And then just knock that back as well to about 70. That's grand. I'm liking it. Okay, what I feel really now is that I feel like the line is just a bit strong in the image. So what I'm going to do is just go to the line layer and just go to the opacity and just knock it back slightly to about 60%, 65. And that's good. That just softens that line a little bit. I've not lost it, but it just, yeah, just desired effect. So what I want to introduce, I'm creating a landscape, and if you've ever seen Avatar, the film Avatar, I want these hearts to be like the sort of floating rocks in Avatar, so they're going to be part of a landscape. It's going to be very simple. And what I like is the strength of line within the image that I've already done. So I don't want to do too much to this. I just want to introduce some colour and a little bit of an environment. So the way I'm going to do that is I've got this photograph here of these gulls that I took some time ago. It's not a fantastic photo, but I just like the way the birds are situated. And I always use, not always, but I quite often use photography in some of my graphics. This just suits. So earlier changed it to a transparency look, so black on a transparent background, and then just drag and drop that layer onto the one I'm using. I'm going to make it a smart object, so you right click on that layer, convert to smart object, just in case I need to change the size up and down. It's just good housekeeping for me sometimes on certain parts of imagery. I'm going to change it down, make it a bit smaller, and pop it in that space above this right hand side hard, in that space. So there, that's nice. I'm just going to take the opacity down very slightly. About there, that's looking good. Now it's still a bit simplistic. I still need to make more of a suggestion of landscape. So what I'm going to do now is we just zoom out of the image, and then if we go and use our elliptical marquee tool, and if you click on the canvas and drag out, and if you press shift while you do it, it constrains the proportions and you get a perfect circle. So I want it quite big. This is why I've zoomed out and zoom back in. Now I've made the selection. You see that arc line. So if I just drag this down to where I need it, about there, this is going to form part of the landscape in the background, the suggestion of. Now this top part here is the bit that's selected. I need this bottom left part to be selected. So if you just go to select inverse, that's snapped. You can see the marching ants on the side of the canvas. Changed. Now we need a new layer at the bottom. And I've got a pre-selected grey that I just wanted to drop in there. Back to the layer, make sure the layer's checked. Just call it a fill, so I know what's what. And then fill it and make sure the foreground selected it is. Now as you can see, because I've got two gradient colours that are dominant on top of the layers palette, you can see that cyan and red just coming through that grey I filled in there, which is great because it ties it to the image, the colours in the image already. There's nothing wrong with that. That works for me. There's nothing wrong with that at all. It's brilliant. So we're about there. Apart from the fact I just find this line, this curved line at the bottom, just a bit simplistic still. So I just need to sort of suggest that it is a landscape a little bit more than it is. So using my marquee tool, if I use my polygon lasso tool, actually, I use my polygon lasso tool and just click and drag shapes out like this, like it's a rocky landscape off in the distance, some canyon of some sort. Just dead simple, don't have to do too much. It's just a suggestion. Dead simple, and then bring it round. Close the selection, and then you can just fill that on the same layer again, fill it with grey, edit fill, bump, and then Command D, deselect, and there you go. That's fine. Now I'm liking this. Like I say, I'm not going to do too much more to this. I really like this as an image. I think those birds are just a bit strong looking at it now, so I'm just going to knock them back a bit, pasted it down slightly. It's a bit better. Just make it subtle. I need the strength of form to be these two images in the foreground, and if you soften things in the background, you can tell there's a bit of distance between them, and I quite like that. The thing that is not sitting well with me is how white the white is, so I think what I'm going to do is just click on that white layer, click on the white layer, and let's just call it, I'll call it fill actually, colour fill, and go to adjustments and selective colour. Actually, you could directly affect the layer, but what I'm going to do is a layer adjustments. The same thing, selective colour, and that drops this adjustment layer just above the colour fill. That's grand. Select white. I'm using absolute, not relative, just a preference, and I'm going to mess with that white slightly. I want to warm it up, so I would actually go to the black first and just put a bit of darkness in that white, so plus 8%, and then I'm going to take this cyan over to about minus 35, magenta up just a couple of clicks here, not too much, and the yellow the same, just to put a bit of warmth in that landscape. Nothing. I mean, actually, yeah, it can. 1% can make a difference. I'm quite happy with that. That's good. Let's go with that. Happy. Now the fact that I've done it on an adjustment layer, let's just toggle it so you can see the difference. The fact that I've done it on an adjustment layer and not actually just affected the layer directly means that I can, if it is a bit strong still, which I think it is, you can just take the opacity back slightly and just knock that effect out. And there you go. And that is the finished image. Happy with that. Yeah, done deal. Thanks for stopping by. Keep creating. It's a wonderful thing to do. And if you haven't subscribed already, please do so for updates from this channel. And I will see you next time. Take care. Bye for now.